You're listening to The Doctor Is In podcast. This is the show where you get the best tips, tricks, and nutritional hacks to help you and your family get healthier. You'll also hear what works and what doesn't work so you don't have to waste your time and money. All right, let's get started.
Hi, I'm Dr. Martin Jr.
And I'm Dr. Martin Sr.
And this is the Doctors In podcast, and this is episode 136. And today we want to talk about 7 foods that seem healthy, but are anything but. And this is, really something that, we analyze a lot of diets that come into our clinic, and these are really 7 common foods that people would almost say that they're eating proudly because, marketing has been done so well that they actually think they're eating something that's good for them when, in fact, it's not good for them at all. And for some people, especially if they have any kind of metabolic disorders, high insulin or pre-diabetic, anything like that, or autoimmune disorders, these things are making them worse and then making them more susceptible. So let's kind of go through the list of the 7 foods that we hear from people that they've been duped. All right, so let's just go through the list. No particular order, really, but we'll start with probably the number 1, and then after that, there's really no order. This one here is something that if we were to do a food diary on most of our patients, pretty much every one of them would start their day off with this.
And it's called?
Yogurt.
Yeah.
Right? Now, listen, yogurt's come a long way. Greek yogurt, there's plain Greek yogurt, and then you can naturally sweeten it up. But we're just talking about the average yogurt that's consumed every morning. Listen, you've seen the commercials. I've seen the commercials. They do a good job making it seem like yogurt is very good for you.
Yeah.
You had said that that's the, number 1?
The number 1 choice of women for their breakfast in Canada and the United States. Number 1.
Yeah, it's a massive. I remember talking to this woman who her job was she would sell food into grocery stores all across Ontario, and she was telling me how that was. I mean, yogurt. They sold so much yogurt. It was such a.
Well, you think of it, if you go back, even when you were a kid, there wasn't anybody in the universe other than people that were living out on the land or something like that.
Yeah, because they had to make it.
They'd make their own yogurt, and they, you could actually get a kit, and you still can, I'm sure.
And it's so bitter.
Well, I mean, it's sour milk. I mean, why would you want to eat that, right? But so, I mean, the food industry, you got to give them credit. I always say,
listen,
man, I'll tell you.
They know what they're doing.
They can take anything that's bad for you and make it look like it's the greatest thing. I watched them do it, right, with cereals, right? Like people that started their day eating bacon and eggs when hey, don't eat that, man. That's no good for you. Eat our
Special K
and Cheerios and Fruit Loops. And, I mean, they just duped everybody. Like, this is the greatest thing. It's good for you. They even put a heart on the box.
Yeah.
Right?
They,
ensuring that you're going to have a heart attack if you eat it.
But, all right, yeah. Let's get back to yogurt. So, yogurt is really deceitful on 2 fronts. One is it's really marketed in 2 ways, really.
Mm-hmm.
One is it's marketed as a kind of a natural way to get probiotics.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Which they rarely provide.
What you wrote a newsletter once that said that to get the amount of probiotics that we have in one capsule.
Yeah, 1 capsule of our probiotic complex.
How many?
16,000 4-ounces, like 4-ounce containers of yogurt. You'd have to eat 16,000 of them because yogurt has a few issues. One is it's not a broad spectrum type of a probiotic that you're getting.
It has some acidophilus in it, but even then.
And you're talking millions of them rather than billions.
And then it's pasteurized.
And then it's killed in the stomach acid in a lot of times too, right? Because they're not really made to get through the acid of the stomach.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. It really is not.
That. Like, I don't want to take a probiotic because I'm eating yogurt. Yeah, well, good luck with that.
Yeah, it's not a good source of probiotics.
No.
I mean, there's probiotics in it, but like they'll say this with everything. It's a good source of this, and it's like, well, yeah, not really. Yeah, it does have some of that in there, but you definitely do not take yogurt for
And read your labels. Look at how much sugar's there.
And that's the other thing. So yogurt has been marketed successfully as a low-fat way to start your day with no regard to sugar content at all, right? So a lot of the yogurts, especially for a while, they've fixed this up a little bit, right? They've been cleaning that up a little bit. But a lot of the yogurts that people have been eating for a long time contained a lot of sugar. I mean, you can imagine what their blood sugar levels were like shortly thereafter. You can imagine they were just loaded with sugar.
Well, take the fat out of it too, right? Like yogurt should have a lot of fat in it.
Yeah, a lot of fat and a little bit of sugar because, again, the worst thing that you can combine, really, a lot of our problems today are combining sugar and fats, right? High processed vegetable oils and then in a high sugary food, which is pretty much every processed food on the planet. But that really causes some real issues, right? So yogurt may seem healthy. It may be marketed as healthy, but it definitely isn't. Now, are there yogurts out there that are better for you than traditional yogurt? Yes, of course. For example, Greek yogurts tend to have more protein in them.
Yeah. But if you got any trouble with dairy, too, I mean, dairy can be very inflammatory for a lot of people. And oftentimes they might get away with eating a little bit of cheese, but they cannot because there's no sugars in it. But we talk about this with our patients a lot. You got a bad gut.
Yogurt can be very hard on it.
Eliminate the dairy to start. Like you got to find out if that's irritating your gut because, you have a lot of mucus. You're forming a lot of mucus. One of the things you look at is dairy, and yogurt is...
A lot of people clear their throat after eating yogurt or drinking or eating cereal in the morning. Yeah. They tend to be clearing their throat a lot, right? Which, again, is an indication that they got a subclinical allergy almost to it. All right, so let's move along. But the first one is yogurt. That's a big one. You're better off eating bacon and eggs for breakfast than you are relying on protein just from yogurt because yogurt has some protein in it, but it's not a high source of protein. I know they'll market it as a high source of protein, but really you're not getting a ton of protein.
So if you're going to have it, Greek plain.
That's right. And then sweeten it with some cinnamon and throw some other things in there. Yeah. We'll talk about another thing on the list that's later that not to throw in there. But so that's the first one was yogurt. The second one let's talk about this because this is another thing a lot of people eat a lot of are granola bars or energy bars. Very common, right? First of all, a few things that's interesting. Just granola doesn't stick. It's not sticky, right? A granola bar that sticks together needs like a glue. And if you go through and start reading the ingredients, they're not just using like honey or anything like that. It's got a lot of stuff in there to make the bar hold together.
Yeah.
It's not, like I said, you make a granola, it doesn't just stick to itself and make a nice bar and you crush it into a bar. That's not how it works. So even from that aspect alone, a lot of the bars, in order to hold in place, that alone. Also, granola tends to be highly sweetened. Granola cereals and that. Go look at the sugar content.
That's crazy.
And again, this is something that kind of irritates me a little bit, is what they should be doing is this, and there's a reason why they're not doing it. When you look at something that says 24 grams, what does that even mean, right? How do you even... I did a lot of biochemistry, and I took microorganic chemistry. So, we're working in like little tiny amounts. If I say to you, visualize 24 grams, well, what 24 grams of what? I mean, it's very tough to visualize. It is. It's a tough thing. And sugar, it's like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
But when you start to figure that there's roughly
6 teaspoons of sugar.
That's right. So 1 gram is like 4 grams is a teaspoon. Then all of a sudden it makes a little bit more sense. I always figure that they should have, if I was running things, I would have a graphic of teaspoons rather than the grams. So if something is 24 grams, you would see 6 teaspoons.
And people would be grossed out by that.
Sure. When I saw a drink, we were laughing about it the other day. It had 56 grams of sugar. I'm no good in math, but that would be a lot of teaspoons. You'd have to increase the size of the label.
Yeah.
To show the amount of teaspoons that are necessary. I just think it's a better visualizing.
Yeah.
You think
they should actually put, like you said, teaspoons.
Yeah, you think of 12 grams. You're like, okay, 12 grams, what does that mean? It's not that much. And you're like, oh, that's 3 teaspoons. So think about that for a second, right?
You put 3 teaspoons of sugar in your coffee.
That's a lot.
You got a lot of sugar in there. Your nephew and my grandson, and, of course, your son worked at Starbucks, so they know all about this. But he had me laughing the other day because he said a guy came in just the way at Tim Hortons, and he literally wanted 6 teaspoons of sugar in his medium coffee. 6 teaspoons.
Did they give him a shot of insulin at the same time?
But he was telling me in the cup. By the time he put 6 teaspoons in there, like a quarter of a cup of that cup of his coffee was sugar.
That person does not like coffee. If you
why
need
bother?
6 teaspoons of,
Why didn't he order just a latte or whatever else that they have is full of sugar?
and that's why I'm in favor of something visual to help people understand quickly. It's like,
Well, the food industry gets away
well,
with
no, and they keep it in grams because grams is very tough. Like we understand, even then, we don't look at say, well, okay, that has 24 grams of protein. Okay, whatever, 24 grams of sugar. Okay, I mean, we'll say, oh, that's a high protein food, but we won't say that's a high sugar food necessarily. I think the teaspoon is just an easier way for people to grasp because, again, a great experiment is grab a glass, fill with water, and then go grab the average soda or pop and just, if it's got 24 grams of sugar, load it up with 6 teaspoons and take a drink.
24 would be almost a diet pop.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, that's how much. You're looking at 30,
40,
50 grams of sugar.
So that's the issue that we have. We kind of went off topic a little bit there, but
What's new?
Yeah, granola bars tend to be sweetened. They tend to be held together by unhealthy. Yes, they're not. It's not a natural way to keep things together at all, right? So that's one of the problems with granola. So that's the second one. The third one we kind of hinted on a little bit. We kind of talked about as well, which is there's this idea out there that fruit smoothies are healthy. We're not against fruit. I love fruit. The problem is when you squish a bunch of fruit together and liquefy it, that's all of a sudden not that healthy. High sugar, nothing worse than drinking sugar too, by the way.
Yeah.
Really hard on the liver.
Yeah.
Liver
God
fat.
wanted you to eat it, not drink it.
Yeah, so again, throwing a fruit in a smoothie, no big deal. Making a fruit smoothie, that's a whole different thing. And, now you see these juicers places all over. These kids are getting, real big. Kids love these smoothie places, right? And they get fruit smoothies. And they're...
You got to have the Dr. Martin's Perfect Smoothie, right? Which is a much different thing. Yeah, you can add berries, right? But it's high protein, right? Like we don't talk about, you go squish grapes and
they'll
bananas and berries.
They'll just throw a whole bunch. I mean, listen, who doesn't like a good fruit smoothie here and there? And we're not saying not to drink them, but they're a treat.
Yeah.
Right? They're not as healthy as you think they are.
A lot of people eat and especially like you said, drink too much fruit. They do. I call them God's candies. Like, look, you know what? And the world's changed. Like, let us just, we're putting a little bit of a disclaimer because, we love fruit. Like you say, fruit is good for you.
Especially summertime.
It's wonderful. But if you have trouble with insulin, if you have trouble with uric acid, if you have trouble at all with weight or, you know what I mean? Like, we live in a different world today because there's so much sugar hidden in everything. And now you're taking something, oh, doc, I eat a lot of fruit. Yeah, well, maybe you shouldn't eat as much fruit as you're eating. I'm not saying it's not good, but it may not be good for you as an individual because your insulin's already high. And you got uric acid, you got joint pain. We talked about last week and about joints and uric acid, right? And that kind of thing. So anyway, it's just, like I said, understand where we're coming from because of what we see in the office every day.
All right, so let's go on. This is 2 categories, but it's kind of the same reason why would be gluten-free foods and vegan foods. Now, a lot of gluten-free foods and a lot of vegan fruit are really fake foods. High sugar, high processed foods, right? You go down a grocery store now that has a gluten-free section, and it's like a candy aisle. I mean, what's really interesting, too, a lot of what they use in the breads or they use in the cookies, the type of flour, in a sense, that they're using is highly insulinogenic. I mean, really spikes your insulin more than other types, right? So they're just, again, the best gluten-free food is
low carb.
Now, again, a lot of times they'll throw, for example, right? Like you go in a grocery store, you go into the organic section or the healthy section, like, though that's the healthy aisle, right? Like, and you'll see a lot of the same stuff, right? You'll see a lot of healthy granolas, which are really high sugar. Now, listen, they'll dress it up as cane sugar, but sugar is sugar. Doesn't matter what the surname is, Mr. Sugar, cane sugar. I don't care what your surname is, it's still sugar.
Yeah, they're not using the high fructose corn syrup.
No, that's right. They're using cane sugar, or they're using some variation of that, right? So
coconut sugar.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, is it better? Yeah, it is better. However, it's still sugar. Your body biochemically reacts as if it's sugar. It doesn't react like it's not sugar. Now, it might not be treated with chemicals, and there are some there's some advantages to that, but let's be honest, your body's going to react to that like it's sugar. No question, right? So go into that healthy section, you go into the frozen part of that section, and you're going to see a lot of like vegan desserts. They're sugar. Yeah, they may not have anything living in it, but it's still, understand that there's nothing healthy about that whatsoever. Because it's found in the healthy section of your grocery store, and it's in that freezer with the healthy food.
Read your label. It's
still, you're eating sugar. I mean, it may be vegan sugar, but it's still absolutely high sugar, right? Because marketers are smart. They throw vegan in front of it, and people think it's healthy.
Yeah.
Licorice is vegan, right? Just because vegan in front of it, it's smart. It's marketing. People associate vegan, even though we can talk about that another time. They associate vegan with healthy, so therefore this vegan dessert must be healthier. That's not the case at all. It's not a health thing at all. And the same thing goes with gluten-free foods, right? A gluten-free cookie is still a cookie, and it's still got a lot of sugar in it.
Well, they have to. Think about it. The second you take gluten out of food, right, a lot of taste.
Yeah,
it comes out of it, right? So what do they got to do, right, to make it taste good? Sugar.
All right, so let's move on from there. Here's another one as well that's starting to pop up a lot. You see this a lot in grocery stores, are veggie chips, right? And there's a couple problems with veggie chips. Now,
I don't like the color of them.
Well, that's judging a book by its cover. But you see veggie chips all over the place, and there's two problems. All right, here's the thing. The worst thing you could do is combine fat and carbs together, right? I mean, that just kind of like, it's too much energy. It's energy dense. So you burn the carbs off as energy right away, and that fat then kind of gets broken down and stored as fat, right? It's like, does fat store as fat? No. But you throw carbs in there.
Yeah.
And
like puts in?
Yeah. That's one of the problems. And the other issue is, so they're carby, and then some of them would be less carbs, whatever. But man, I'll tell you, they are just loaded with crappy vegetable oils.
Yeah.
High processed oils that just...
You can run your car on those.
Yeah.
Things.
They kills your digestive lining tract, right? Leads
very
to leaky
inflammatory.
Gut. They're just no good for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the biggest... If there are two things that we do too much of today is we eat way too much sugar, and we consume way too much vegetable oils. Vegetable oils,
to 1.
They sound healthy. Let's call them vegetable oils. They sound, vegetables are healthy. Yeah, I got an idea. Let's name them vegetable oils. They're not healthy. They're
the
highly
farthest
inflammatory
thing from a vegetable too. Believe me.
So a lot of the issues with these veggie chips is that they're highly processed vegetable oil chips, right? They're not a healthy. They're not a healthy alternative, and they got the same carb count a lot of times, so they're high carb. If you're going to eat them because you enjoy them and understand that you're getting a junk food, right? It's not like, oh, I'm having my veggies in a stick. It doesn't.
It's not broccoli.
No, definitely not broccoli, and it's definitely not as healthy as people think.
It's amazing, again, they come back to the food industry. How they market, eh? They're good at it. I give them credit.
Yeah, and they put a lot of effort, perceived healthiness. That's a big part of marketing. Because whenever you see a commercial for these things, it's always healthy individuals running and stopping for a snack and having a little bit of veggie chips. So it's just, anyways. All right, let's go on to we got two more. We'll talk about these quickly. Here's another one as well, bottled green juices, right? You're starting to see these popping up more and more.
They're common in the grocery stores now.
And if you actually look at the label, 40, 50 grams of sugar in a lot of these things, right? Again, if you do that by teaspoons, that's a lot of teaspoons of sugar. Especially when they put it, and this is another issue as well, right? If you're a juicer at home, a lot of people start off, they'll add apples to it because apples can hide the taste of a lot of things.
Yeah.
But a lot of these commercial smoothie, like
Drinks.
green drinks, they're apple juice.
Concentrated.
Yeah, with a lot of apple juice in it, and then they throw this stuff in there. So it's a high sugar. That's a lot of sugar. It's just not, they're not healthy. They actually, you think, and the sad thing is people really think that they're going healthy without realizing that they're spiking, they're killing their blood sugar levels, they're secreting a ton of insulin. It's just, they're putting fat around their liver. It's not healthy at all.
Yeah. They're negating anything they think they're getting from green, right?
Well, and that's
because green's good. Yep, it's chlorophyll, it's wonderful, but not the sugar.
No, not the sugar at all. And
you're negating all the benefits.
So that's
you're making yourself acidic when it should be an alkaline drink. Think about that.
Well, and the sad thing is that a lot of this, if we just turn around and look at the label and look at the sugar content without looking at it with anything else, a lot of these foods would be disqualified as healthy right off the bat. And what's frustrating is that government agencies will list foods as healthy without any regard to the amount of sugar that's in them because they sound healthy or they perceived as healthy.
Well, one of the things that we talked about, and just to give you a uric acid, right, and joint pain. I talked about it before. I can talk about it again. But just like some people say, well, how much sugar am I aiming for, doc? Well, I usually say, well, look, if you're suffering uric acid, keep your total sugars, add them all up, under 15, 20 grams a day. That's not much. So if you're getting a green drink,
oh yeah, you're over.
That's got
3
an
days.
apple base, you're already over.
Yeah, for the next 3 days.
Yeah, you can't have another stinking gram of sugar anywhere. And, I got berries. Well, yeah, berries are real good for you. But if you're adding them up and you already had a sugary drink that you weren't even thinking is, it's green. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's got, you got to add it all up. So, yeah, people.
And here's another one, and this is the last one here. And this one really did a good job. I mean, they snuck this one in here, and a lot of people talked about this. You've read a lot about it, which is agave as a sweetener.
Wow.
And first of all, go look up how it's made. There's nothing natural about how agave syrup especially is made. There's nothing natural about it. It is loaded with high fructose corn syrup. It is broken down like sugar. It's a liquid sugar.
Goes right to your liver.
It's just not healthy at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a healthy alternative, but a lot of organic foods. I don't understand how an organic food can have something that you cannot make organically, which is agave. I mean, how do you go look how it's made? The process involved in doing that. I just don't understand how that can happen in a sense. But again, that's in a lot of health food stores are loaded with products with agave because it sounds healthy. I mean, agave, right? Are you having sugar? No, sugar's bad. I'm having agave. It sounds healthy.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's smart.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, that's really smart. But
we cooked their goose when they first come out because I
remember people were mad at us.
Yeah, they were mad. I remember getting some.
Oh, I remember
emails
we were
from
getting
people
we have a tremendous community of people around us, right? We get
we really
so much positive feedback, and we really enjoy interacting with the people around us. But one of the downsides of doing podcasts, and we get a lot of downloads, is we get some crazy people as well who just don't like us. And
I can't understand that.
Yeah, you seem like a nice guy, but we can say that it's sunny out and they'd be arguing with us that it's raining. And some people, that's just how they are, right? They wake up in the morning and the first thing they say, "What can I get mad about today?" And they just happen to see a post
agave.
or something. And so we had talked about agave a while ago, and they didn't like it. They were like, "No, agave's healthy."
The agave police were out.
But I think the gig's up now. I think most people know that that's not necessarily. But I still overhear people talking about it. If I'm at a store, it's like, "Oh, it's got agave in it," and it's like, yeah, that's just. I feel like saying that's just like Latin for bad sugar. You're just saying it a different way. But anyways,
and the alternative is in a limited, very very limited is True Blue maple syrup, right?
Yeah, maple
syrup.
Like
the real stuff, but it's so, like, there's a lot of sugar in it. But It's got FOS, fructooligosaccharides, so it's prebiotic.
Yeah, it's still digested as a sugar.
Yeah.
But it's got some added benefits, like honey.
Yeah.
Honey's a sugar, but honey's got some...
Especially unpasteurized honey.
It's got some properties in it.
But you got to be... Again, we live in a different world. We live in a sugary world. So you got to add it all up, right? Like even the good, bad, and ugly. I mean, you got to add it up.
Well, if you took a food diary and add up the amount of sugar you eat in a day, it's hidden in there. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. People don't, Doc, I don't eat sugar. Well, you don't add sugar. It's not like you're taking teaspoons of sugar and adding it to your food. But I said, you're fooling yourself. You're eating a lot of sugar in your diet.
It's everywhere. All right, so those are 7 kind of foods that may seem healthy that aren't. I'll just run through them really quickly. Yogurt. That big one, granola bars or energy bars in general. Look at the ingredients in energy bars and the sugar. Fruit smoothies, gluten-free are vegan foods. Veggie chips, bottled green juices, and agave is another big one. Well, we want to thank you for listening to this episode. If you have any questions, you can email us at info@martinclinic.com. If you have anything bad to say, then you can email us at... I'm just kidding. You can get a hold of us by email us at info@martinclinic.com. If you're not a newsletter subscriber, go to our website, martinclinic.com, and subscribe for our newsletter. You can also join you every Thursday morning. You do a live Facebook Live.
Upside down sometimes.
Sideways, upside down, dark, bright, every which way possible.
But we still have fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and you get a lot of good interaction, so it's a great way for people to ask you questions as well. So you can go ahead and join you every Thursday morning. So again, we want to thank you for listening. Have a great day.